He failed over and over again. 9 business ideas that used up his time and money. Just a few years later, he built one of the fastest growing e-commerce brands in the world. Davie Fogarty went from burnout to building a business empire worth over 500 million US dollars. And he did that all before he turned 30 years old. But behind the cozy hoodie and the soft smile is a story of trial and error. This is the real story of Davie Fogarty and how he went from 9 failed business ideas to turning $500 into a global brand. Davie was born in Adelaide, Australia in 1994. He grew up in the middle class. His dad was a small business owner. His mom worked in healthcare. They weren't rich, but they were supportive. And from a young age, Davie was curious. Not about sports or video games, but about business. As a teenager, Davie watched his dad run a shop and learned what it meant to serve customers, solve problems, and survive the up and downs from small business. He read books on business in his free time. He loved thinking about products, brands, and what made people to buy. But even more than that, he loved making things. At 14, he started tinkering with small marketing ideas. At 15, he started flipping items online. Small stuff, headphones, cases, basic electronics. He didn't always make money, but he loved the game. He once said, "It wasn't about being rich, it was about building something real." After high school, Davie enrolled in the University of Adelaide to study commerce. But the classroom didn't hold his attention for long. At 19, he had already dropped out. Not because he wasn't smart, but because his mind was somewhere else. While other students were worrying about lectures, Davie was building Shopify stores in his bedroom. He knew one thing: the best education was trying, and failing, and trying again. Most people start a business because they want freedom, money, or status. Davie Fogarty didn't start that way. He started because he couldn't stop thinking about problems. Why products fail, why ads didn't click, why people buy. His obsession wasn't with success, it was with understanding. He once said, "The reason most businesses fail isn't bad luck, it's bad learning." Davie wasn't the smartest in the room. He wasn't naturally outgoing. He wasn't a coding genius or a finance expert. But he had one advantage. He could look at failure without flinching. When his first few businesses didn't work, he didn't take it personally. He looked at the data, dug into why people didn't click. He read every ad comment. He replied to angry customers. He paid attention when others moved on. It was painful, but it made him sharp. Between the ages of 18 and 23, Davie launched 9 different businesses, and nearly all of them failed. There was a leather phone case business, a memory foam pillow brand, a candle brand, a phone repair side hustle, a Vietnamese roll shop. He even opened a physical food outlet called the Rollish. Altogether, he estimates he lost over 20,000 US dollars from his own savings across those early failed ventures. It wasn't investors' money, it was his money from odd jobs, freelance gigs, bartending shifts, and borrowed time. For most people, that's the end of the story. 9 failed businesses, burnt out, let's go back to a 9 to 5. But not for Davie. He didn't quit, he didn't pause, and he asked one question that changed everything. Why am I really failing? What came next wasn't a new product, it wasn't another store. It was a period of radical self-education. For months, Davie stopped launching and started learning. He dove headfirst into Facebook ads, Shopify analytics, consumer psychology, copywriting, conversion rate optimization. He didn't guess anymore, he measured. He stopped blaming bad luck, bad timing, or bad partners. He started owning every failure. "I was running businesses like a student cramming for a test," he said. "I had to slow down, build skill, and think long term." At night, while his friends were out, he stayed in, reading e-commerce breakdowns and marketing books. He took free online courses, followed brand strategists, broke down the landing pages of companies he admired, pixel by pixel. He tracked ad performance by the hour. He built spreadsheets for everything: customer lifetime value, refund rates, retention curves. It wasn't sexy, it was boring, but it worked. Because while others kept throwing products at the wall, Davie was building a framework. A system for launching, testing, validating, and scaling products without wasting a dollar. And more importantly, he was training his mindset. He no longer tied his self-worth to success of a store. If something failed, he didn't collapse. He asked what it taught him. He separated ego from execution. Most people lose $20,000 chasing dreams and never recover. Davie used that $20,000 as tuition, a down payment on skills that would eventually earn him hundreds of millions. You don't lose when you fail, he said. You lose when you don't learn. And that mindset was the seed of a global empire. In late 2018, Davie came across a growing trend in the US, weighted blankets. They were marketed as therapeutic, good for anxiety, stress, sleep. He looked around and realized no one in Australia was doing it well. It was his opening. He didn't have a factory or a big team or a product ready to go. All he had was $500, a laptop, and a stack of lessons from years of failure. So he did what he always did. He built the product from scratch. He spent weeks sourcing manufacturers from China, tested different weights, materials, and textures. He wanted the product to feel premium, but look clean and accessible. Then he set up a Shopify store. Simple, focused, direct. No fluff, no fake urgency, just a clear value proposition. Better sleep, less stress, calming blankets. But the real difference this time, he treated the launch like an experiment. He built a content funnel around real pain points: insomnia, anxiety, restless sleep. He wrote ad copy that spoke directly to that feeling of being up at 3 a.m., tossing and turning. And then he launched Facebook ads with a tiny $50 test budget. Nothing crazy, no viral hack, no influencer push, just smart targeting, tight messaging, and a solid product. And within a few days, sales started trickling in. $100 a day, then $300, then $700. Not explosive, but consistent, predictable, scalable. For the first time in his entrepreneurial life, Davie wasn't guessing. He was analyzing, optimizing, doubling down on what worked. He reinvested every dollar back into the business. More inventory, more ad creative, more testing. He didn't hire a team. He didn't take a salary. He kept things lean, smart, disciplined. And Calming Blankets kept growing. Soon it was doing $30,000, then $40,000 a month in sales. All from one product, built from one room, by one person who had already failed 9 times. And that's when the real light bulb went off. Davie looked at what was working and asked a better question. What other products give people comfort like this? He thought about what made Calming Blankets successful. It solved an emotional problem, it had a clear value proposition, and it felt good to use. And then he remembered a strange product he'd seen floating around overseas. A big, oversized wearable blanket. Something between a hoodie and a doona. Novelty? Maybe. But Davie knew how to test ideas. He mocked up a few designs: fluffy fleece, Sherpa lining, fun prints, sloths, avocados, corgis. And he gave it a simple, playful name: the Oodie. At first, no one knew what to make of it. It looked weird. But Davie knew the formula now. He didn't try to convince everyone. He targeted people who already craved comfort: moms, students, anxious sleepers. He crafted ads with humor and heart, wrote headlines like "the comfiest thing you'll ever wear" or "your dog will steal it." And once again, he tested with a small ad budget. And again, sales started coming in. But this time, something felt different. People weren't just buying it. People were talking about it, posting it, sharing it, sending photos of their kids and dogs wearing matching hoodies. Suddenly, it wasn't just a product, it was a movement. And it all started with the one first step: launching Calming Blankets, not to get rich quick, but to finally do it right. That $500 test would become the first brick in a $500 million empire. At its peak, Oodie was doing $50,000 a day in online sales. But behind the success was chaos. Davie was managing customer support, logistics, product design, ad buying, all by himself. The business was growing faster than he could keep up. He missed emails, orders got delayed, shipping was a nightmare. For a while, Davie barely slept. He took customer calls from his bedroom at 2 a.m. He wrote refund emails, he dealt with angry buyers, he handled supply chain breakdowns. It wasn't pretty. He could have scaled too fast, hired too many people, outsourced everything. But he didn't. He kept it in control, kept a small team. Most importantly, he kept learning. By 2020, the Oodie was everywhere. Instagram influencers wore them, TikTokers made viral videos, parents bought them for kids, couples wore matching sets. It was more than a product, it was a feeling. And Davie wasn't just selling comfort, he was selling connection, simplicity, a love, a cozy moment. During the pandemic, when people were stuck inside, stressed and scared, the hoodie became a comfort item in homes across the world. Sales skyrocketed. In just 2 years, hoodie went from a $500 Shopify store to a $200 million brand. But Davie didn't just stop there. He quietly launched more brands. Pawsley, pet comfort products, pup naps, calming dog beds, the Calming Co., relaxation supplements, the Original Mattress Co. Each of them used the same formula: great product, better marketing, obsessive focus on customer experience. And all of it was bootstrapped. No outside investors, no venture capital, no handouts. Just systems, testing, patience. By 2023, his umbrella company, the Davie Group, had generated over $500 million in revenue. Today, Davie Fogarty is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Australia. His brands reach millions of customers, his companies employ hundreds of people, and his personal net worth is estimated to be over $200 million. But more than the money, Davie is building a legacy of education. He runs a YouTube channel where he breaks down how he built each brand. He shares lessons, mistakes, ad templates, strategy breakdowns. He mentors young entrepreneurs, funds startups in Australian Shark Tank. He said, "If I'd given up after my 9th failed business, none of this would exist." His story isn't flashy. He didn't invent something revolutionary. He didn't raise millions in funding. He didn't get lucky. He just kept showing up. Davie Fogarty proved that even your worst failures can be stepping stones to something massive. If this story inspired you, hit subscribe for more real stories about business success.